Hello friends, today I'm going to show you about logging that exists in the Datapower. So this is a basic course in which we will see what logging, how logging is done on the Datapower appliance, what are the different types of logs that we can expect on the Datapower appliance. So beforehand I will tell you that logging is an advanced and complex topic. So in this video I am going to touch upon very basic things that are required in order to kickstart with logging of the Datapower. So having said that, let's see what are the different kind of loggings that are available on the Datapower. So there are two different kinds of logs that you can expect on the Datapower. One is logs generated by different kind of services, logs generated during transactions. They are called system logs, and there are two places from where you can find out those logging information. One is that you can go here. This is view logs. You click it and you will go to dashboard where you can see the loggings and system logs. So status, view logs, and then system logs. So system logs is something which clicking which will land you up on the same screen had you click the view logs. So let's click the view logs, but before that let me tell you that this is the only one kind of logging that is available on the Datapower appliance. There is another kind of logging which is for admin purposes, and that is audit log. So audit log is the second category of logging that exists on the Datapower. Audit log is something which tracks what kind of changes have happened in the Datapower appliance. So for example, suppose that you restarted the Datapower appliance, or you restarted the domain for that matter. So all that information you can find in the audit log. Audit log is not visible apart from default domain. Since I am not in the default domain, you can see that I am in a different domain. So audit log is something which is not visible to me. So if I go ahead and click here, it is not visible to me. But if I go and be in the default domain, and if I click the status, I will see audit logs visible to me. So I can click it and I can see the audit logging information displayed over here. So this is something you can see that this is a system level logging. So basically if a domain has got restarted multiple times or something like that, system level event, so logging is something which could be seen for that kind of activity. So this is the audit log. Audit log resides in audit directory, which is part of file system that exists on the Datapower device, but that audit directory is not visible even you click the file management in the default domain. So there is no audit directory. Audit directory exists but is visible from command line only. So you should go to the command line in order to see what are the contents inside that audit directory. So this is about audit logging. Let's move on to the system logs. So if I am in the default domain, I can see logs associated with other domains as well. So you can see that there is one column called domain, and here we have lots of logs for a particular domain called EAI. But if I am in a non-default domain, say for example in EAI domain, and if I click logs, you see it shows logs of only this particular domain, which is EAI domain. So let me go ahead and tell you what are the different kinds of options that exist as part of this logging, and how to read logs so that you get started with the Datapower logging. So I will tell you about this target, filter, and this thing later, but let's go ahead and see what these columns mean. First, the current timestamp is shown over here. This is Datapower current date timestamp. The time is something which is which depicts at what particular instant particular log has been generated. So this is the timestamp. It is increasing from bottom up. So if you go to the bottom, say for example, it is 132101, it is 1355. So you see that it is increasing when we go upwards. So that is how logging is taking place. So most recent log is at the top and less recent log is at the bottom. So this is how the logging is arranged over here. I'm not sure if I can click it and I can change the order of this logging. Yeah, this cannot be changed. So this is something fixed. Next is the category. So category is predefined in the Datapower. You can extend it. As I said, the logging is advanced and complex topic, so you can always play around categories. But these are more or less fixed, and you can say that these categories are something which are displayed over here as well. So in a rough sense, at a very crude sense, you can say that these categories are something which belongs to objects. So for example, we have created WSRR subscription, and WSRR subscription is something which belongs to WSRR category. So that's why category is shown over like WSRR. You see that there is something validation that is happening for credentials. So this activity relates to a crypto kind of category. That's why the category is listed as crypto. So I tell you what, let's say if you are debugging, if you are working with an authentication scenario, for example, and if you want to see that logs of that authentication transaction only, so you go ahead and click on AAA, and you will see that logs will get filtered by that AAA transaction. So AAA is a category which deals with authentication, authorization and auditing. There is another video in which I have introduced how to configure and deal with the AAA. So AAA is a category. Similarly, if you select all as a category, you will see all the logs. This is similar to if you select filter as none. So that's how categories work. You can see there is a management category, there is a network category. So this will show, this is a typical way of categorizing logs on the Datapower. Then there is a level. So let me tell you about level first. If you click this box, you will see there are a lot of levels of logging on the Datapower. The most fine-grained level is the debug level, which is at the bottom. So if you select debug, all of the logs are collected and shown you at this place. But if you select info, there are some, you can see that how this impacts the logging. Similarly, if you select notice, this is higher grain, the granularity is a little bit higher. So you can see that this is a notice kind of logging. So for development and testing purposes, we keep the logging as debug, so that all logs are visible to you. So that's how this level works. Now, one typical example of level of logging is that error. So for example, if some kind of error happens, let's say you are dealing with any kind of service and you sent a request to the Datapower and some kind of error occurred, you will see level coming as error. If it is not shown over here, but you can try and generate error on the Datapower, and you will see the level will be level is coming as an error. So you can always filter out your logs based on this criteria. This is transaction ID. So transaction ID is basically there for grouping the transactions. So if you click on this transaction ID, you will see all the transactions that are related to this transaction ID. Remember, transaction ID may not be unique when you restart the Datapower appliance or you restart the domain. So you cannot depend upon the transaction ID for that matter to say that, hey, this is the transaction ID earlier and this is the transaction ID now, they both look same, so they both belong to the same transaction. No, that's not the correct way of doing it. But usually, if data power is not restarted or a domain is not restarted, the transaction ID remains unique from transaction to transaction. So clicking this transaction ID has filtered me out other logs and is showing me logs that belongs to only this transaction ID. So that is what transaction ID is. Direction will tell you whether data power is whether this is a request or whether this is a response. So direction is something which will tell you. If data power is internally doing something, then it will not tell you direction. I mean, it will be empty. For example, all of these things are done internally by the data power. These are synchronization that data power objects are. I mean, data power objects are getting synchronized with WSRR. So this is the direction column is empty. The client, this column, the client column, it will show you the IP address of the client. So since there is no external activity taking place, I mean, there is no request responses going on in the data power right now, so the client column is empty. Message ID is something which is a code. This is an internal code for the data power. So if you click that message ID, it will show you logs filtered on that message ID. And message ID is something kind of, for example, if you are dealing with Oracle, then they decide that for this kind of exception, the Oracle code is like ORA 90001. So that code is actually this code. I mean, this is just an analogy. It has nothing to do with Oracle product in general. So I'm just saying that this is a product code for this kind of message, WSRR subscription. Now, if you go ahead and see the message is typically straightforward to read. The first thing is the first field, which is WSRR-subscription. This field is the category. Basically, this is the category of the object. Now, what object? The object name is find service Taleo-subscription. This is the object which has generated this error, this log message. After that, this is the log which has got generated. So this is how typical message is structured. First is the category, second is the object, and third one is the specific message that was generated out of that object. So this is typical. This is one example of logging that is taking place in the data power, and this is how to read data power logs. By default, only 50 lines are shown over here, but if you want to increase that lines, you can click 100 and you will see most recent 100 line items, 100 log items. If you click all, you will see all of the log. But remember, logs are getting frequently archived. So you see that at the bottom it says log has been archived successfully. So you may not find all of the logs that you are looking for over here. If you are looking for debugging a particular object, then the first place to go is the system log. The system log, you should find logs corresponding to your object over here. But in case if you are not able to find, do not blame to the data power, because it has archived the logs and you can see those archived logs over here. Let me tell you here, this file management and then log temp, and you can see that archived logs are over here. Default log 1, this is one archived log. Then default log 2, this is another archived log. Default log 3, this is another archived log, and the current one is default log. So there are 4 files which get archived, and once once all these files are getting filled up, the archival works in a cyclic manner. So for example, if Datapower is doing a logging, it will try to create log, and once it exceeds 50 MB, it will create a log file called default log1, which is archived here, and then it will try to write again inside default log. Once it reaches to 50 MB size again, another file which is default log2 is created, and similar is default log3. And after creating these three files, if let's say default log fills up once again, these files are leveraged, and logging works in a cyclic manner. So this is how logging works. So as I said, if you are debugging anything, if you are debugging an object, or if you are debugging a transaction, you should not depend upon this default logging per se. For that, you can create a specific logging target which collects logs for that particular object only. So logging targets are created inside the Datapower to collect logs which are related to a specific objects, and once you configure the logging target, you have plenty of options how you want to store that log. So for example, right now all these loggings are happening on the Datapower file system, but on a production environment we don't want this kind of logging to be enabled. In fact, in production environment, it is not recommended that you enable the logging level as debug. So in that case, to collect particular logs related to particular objects, you create logging target, and you specify that the logs for this logging target should go to external source, like for example a Splunk, or you can utilize another logging target like Evro or Thrift kind of thing. So this is about logging, and I have shown you how to read a basic level of logging over here. In some another video, I will try to explain how to configure the logging target so that you have more fine-grained control over how logging is happening and over its content. One last thing which I would like to show you is that the logging level of a particular domain. So the logging level of this particular domain is controlled from here. You need to go to troubleshooting, and you will see that logging level of this particular domain is set as debug. This is a very intensive level of logging. So if you want to decrease that level of logging, you will select one appropriate option from here, and you say set log level and confirm, and you will see that the overall logging level for this domain has now set to the error level. So that's how, and you can see that the warning which we were getting earlier, that intensive level of logging is enabled for this domain, has just disappeared, and this is because we set the logging level to more higher granularity level. As of now, I set it back to the debug level because I'm utilizing this for testing purpose. So you can see that the warning again crept up over here saying that intensive level of logging is enabled. So this is how logging works for the Datapower, and there is much more about logging. You can read more about this on IBM website, or I will try to create video for that as well. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. This is Datapower.